Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Freddy with Freddy Can Fly. In this video tutorial, we're going to start bumping up our skill level and requirements now, and we're going to get into a little bit more heavy acrobatics and 3D flying. We're still flying the Whiplash 700 size nitro heli. I really enjoy the nitro. So what I want to do now is I want to start transitioning us into a little bit more advanced flying, get away from some of the boring stuff. And I thought, what better trick to start with than Tick-Tock? As we've talked about many times now, collective management is the key. Tick-Tocks are a very well precision-timed acrobatic maneuver. Think of it as a well-oiled machine, if you will. Every single part has to be in time and in key with each other in order to keep the Tick-Tock working. So enough mumble jumble, let's kind of get into it. So for your basic intro into Tick-Tocks, the way I begun learning Tick-Tocks is I'm more of a side-to-side Tick-Tock guy. I like the side-to-side ones more than I like these ones. Although these ones are cool. I don't know, something to me about the aileron movement as compared to the elevator. So what I did to start learning Tick-Tocks, and do take into note, guys, if you're watching this and you're ready to try these, you should be comfortable with transitioning into inverted, all your inverted hovers, and even the collective pump video. That's why I did it before any really hard maneuvers, because having that collective management ability to be able to do collective pumps is really going to help us in Tick-Tocks. So anyways, to get into Tick-Tocks for the first couple times, what I used to practice was I would hold the heli slightly sideways like this. Not quite directly sideways and not quite tail facing me, but I give it a little bit of an angle. And what I would do is I would do a tick in and a tick out, if you will. That's what we're going to call it. So I would go in, and then I would just bounce right back out. And really all we're doing is pulling hard over on our aileron, and then giving it a deflection with collective, and then using a hard collective stop to give us a nice tick hard in stop. And then tick out. We can even do it nice and slow. Just tick in, stop it, come out, stop it, come in, stop, out, stop. So once you're frequent and pretty fluent at doing those, do them to this side even, in, out, and do always note, guys, Tick-Tocks especially, along with every other 3D trick out there, the key to it is hard cyclic and little on the collective, okay? So now that we've got that down, we can start holding a Tick-Tock a little longer. We're going to go in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. And you just want to kind of keep practicing this, and if the heli starts to drift and get away from you, just pop it out, get comfortable. We're going to go in, out, in, out. Now, as I said before, this isn't really a full Tick-Tock, but it's a good way to give you the feel of what it is to get into it and get out of it. And that hard stop, guys, is really crucial to get the Tick-Tock to deflect in the opposite direction. So we need to stop here, pump this way, stop here, pump this way, stop here. And this will kind of stop us, unload the head, stop us, unload the head, and it gives you that nice crisp looking movement. And once again, our collective should remain right around center. Obviously at zero, we're free to roll, as we've talked about in many other videos. That zero position is what kind of allows us to unload the head, get the power to stop, and then deflect in the opposite direction. We're constantly unloading when we hit that stall point right here. So now that we're good at that, we can bump it up a little bit and actually try to hold a full length Tick-Tock. And the key to this, guys, is timing. And it sounds silly, but what I used to do when I would Tick-Tock is I would actually say tick-tock, tick-tock at different speeds. If I wanted to do a really fast Tick-Tock, I would say tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. And I try to keep my voice as even as possible. Now you may seem like that's a little silly and your friends might look at you weird if you're out flying, but you can say it in your head if you want. Nice slow ones. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Speed it up. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. And the reason why I like to talk to myself while I'm doing that is because it keeps you on tempo. If I'm doing a fast Tick-Tock and all of a sudden I slow down, it results in a sudden drop. Tick-Tocks are very tricky to keep at one altitude, and also drop altitude and gain altitude. If we want to talk about how to keep your Tick-Tocks at one constant altitude, it's really hard to try to teach that, but I guess the only trick I could give to you guys is monitor the heli at all times and kind of look at what's happening. Obviously, if we want to keep the heli at one altitude, we want to keep our Tick-Tocks both almost perfect, both inverted and right side up. The same deflection. If we're deflecting this much, we want to deflect that much. And then obviously speed is a big factor. You'll notice I'm going pretty quick and I'm staying right where I'm at. Now if I slow them down, you'll notice I raise in altitude. See how I'm going up now? Now if I want to drop it, I'll speed them up a little over dramatic, and then start to slow them down as I approach the ground, and then speed them back up to hold that constant altitude. Practice that, raising Tick-Tocks by slowing it down. You want to speed it up to drop it, and then start to slow it down to stop us again. Speed us up to hold that constant altitude. Okay. Now another big factor to note while doing this Tick-Tock, for example, this rule does apply in every orientation of the Tick-Tock. But you'll notice right now my tail is basically perfectly flat, and I'm not going right or left in a direction. Now if I tilt my tail, say, to the left, notice how I start to take off. Now if I bring it back to the right, you'll notice I start to come back this way. It's really easy to accidentally flick your tail during a Tick-Tock and start moving in a direction. So a good practice on the fingers is moving that collective directly up and down with no rudder input, because that rudder really starts to throw you off until you get comfortable and more friendly with the Tick-Tock. And then also during your Tick-Tock, if we're doing aileron Tick-Tocks yet again, you'll notice if I don't move my aileron perfectly left and perfectly right in a straight line. So here's a stationary Tick-Tock with no rudder and my aileron moving in a straight fashion. You'll notice I'm not really drifting or going too crazy. I mean, there's always a little bit of drift, okay? But now if I start to move say I move my aileron to the top right, see how it turned me out of it? Or it'll actually kind of start to move the heli. Because once again, exercise ball, you guys, if we were on an exercise ball doing Tick-Tocks, the same rule applies. If I press forward, we're going forward. So try to keep your aileron in a nice right to left, directly straight fashion. Keep that rudder nice and straight. Now when we want to make adjustments, we can. If we want to do a Tick-Tock that comes this way, you see a lot of guys do this, then they'll take it up and punch it out into a circle, and they'll kind of go over this way. Now that they're dropping, they'll bring the rudder back this way, and you can kind of learn to momentum and control your Tick-Tocks. One of my favorites that's really hard to do is a hurricane Tick-Tock. Obviously we're going to take it out and try to turn the heli, which I've kind of already lost my momentum here. There we go, now we're on track. These are really hard to do. I mean, there's so many controls happening right now. But this has to do with all the controls available. I almost just lost it. On a Tick-Tock. Learning to control the Tick-Tocks and directions is really hard. So we'll do a little bit of Tick-Tocks this way, okay? Same rule applies. Try to move that elevator forward and backwards in a straight line. Same rule is going to apply with our up and downs. Obviously, fast is going to bring us up, slow is going to bring us down. Now on this one it gets tricky because my fingers are so used to right to left pulling that they automatically want to kind of give me a little bit of fight, and I keep automatically, bouncing the heli in a tilting direction instead of just deflecting it forward and backwards. So it takes a lot of practice, guys. You can spice it up and get snappy Tick-Tocks, using them collective pumps. One of my favorite maneuvers, if we bump this up to a pro level, is a rotating Tick-Tock, or they sometimes call it a big bend. But basically we've got this orientation here. Now we have certain key points during a Tick-Tock in which we can rotate that tail. One of them is here and one of them is here. Right there we should have all I'm using is strictly collective, right there and right there. You'll see if I let off my cyclic and give just collective, you'll see how it stops us. That's where we're free to rotate our tail during the Tick-Tock. Okay, so if I'm bringing my Tick-Tock like this, okay, and I want to rotate that tail, I'm going to get right here, rotate it. Now we can go into this one. Same thing, right here, rotate it. Now we're going into nose-in Tick-Tocks, which are one of the hardest ones. Rotate it. Okay, so once you get good at those, Now we can really start to mix and match. We can rotate our Tick-Tocks all over the place all day long. You know, I always recommend doing right and left. You know, it'll get you really good, really fast. Don't handicap yourself, guys, with only knowing, you know, one direction and not the other, because then you might get yourself stuck in a weird position that you don't want to be in. Okay, so that's kind of a way you can mix up the Tick-Tocks. These take a very long time to learn, but remember, lots of cyclic deflection and a little bit of collective goes a long way. You know, to hold the Tick-Tock right here in one spot, I'm barely using any collective, but you'll notice my cyclic is really pumping it hard. Whereas if I want to use big ones, or big on my collective, we can do the Tick-Tock forms known as rainbows, where we kind of rainbow it like this. You know, and that's a lot of collective and a little bit of cyclic. So Tick-Tocks alone, there's so many different variations, and throwing them into your combos, and they're one of them tricks that unlock a whole nother world of flying for you. And with that, we throw it into the ground. So practice up your Tick-Tocks, you guys. You know, if you're comfortable, as always, give yourself some good distance up into the air. You know, if you're going to start practicing, you know, try transitioning into it like this, like we talked about, just in, out, okay. Once you're fluid at that, then you can actually start trying to hold a full-length Tick-Tock. As always, guys, if you give a wrong direction, or you feel like you need to bail out of the Tick-Tock, don't do what I just did and hit throttle hold. But try to just roll it over to an orientation in which you're safe to fly in. You know, right now, if I accidentally give rudder, just flip it out. You know, we're fine. Let our nerves settle, and then we can go back into practicing our Tick-Tocks. These take a really long time to learn, you guys, and there's so many different variations. You can Tick-Tock all day long during an entire flight, and people are going to be like, wow, how many tricks do you know? You know, because you're doing so many. You know, it kind of came out wrong. So what I'll do real quick is I'll kind of throw you a little bit of a freestyle here, throwing in some Tick-Tock combinations of different kind of Tick-Tocks you can do during a flight. You know, obviously people really like when you can get them low to the ground. That's when your nerves will really start getting high, though, is when you start getting low. One of my personal favorites is, you know, you can kind of do a full tail whip during a Tick-Tock. Those look pretty cool. Pirouetting Tick-Tocks are something we'll get into at a later video, but those ones alone are a little bit tricky. So those are going to be like a really advanced pro level video. We'll get to those, guys, I promise. And another one we'll get to in a later video series is going to be these ones here, Tick-Tocking in a circular fashion. And we will get to those, I promise. Those ones are really cool, really hard to learn, and honestly, in real life, they scare the hell out of you when you try them, because the heli makes a lot of different sounds than what it's making right now. So practice up your Tick-Tocks, guys. I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, Tick-Tocks are a really hard concept to grasp, and they're really hard to teach, even via the simulator and a good flight lesson and flight instructor even. You got to just get a good feel for it. Once you feel comfortable with them, using some of the techniques we talked about here today, you know, obviously sim it up first, take it out to the field, try it out there, give yourself lots of good altitude, and just be really easy on it. You know, your Tick-Tocks, you know, if you can hear my blades right now, once again, in real life, I would probably be sinking into the dirt right now. You shouldn't be banging your sticks. Nice and easy. Manage that collective. You'll notice if I start freestyling my Tick-Tocks, you're not hearing my blades flipping around unless I'm doing a hard collective one like this. Then we're getting those little blade slaps, okay? So with that, let's throw down an auto here, and we'll see you guys on the next video, which I believe we're gonna introduce you guys into pirouetting flips.